Have we done any study, or have you related to regional impact, regions of the state? You've done it by saying in total, but just the impact of the federal tax law, either positively or negatively.
But I think we know where there's higher income taxes or there was higher property taxes, they're impacted less than other parts of the state, right? So we know that, right? And the higher income taxes, the home values are impacted more. So we know that, right? And if you look at the congressional vote, right, where it came from, where it is, so you can see certain regions were impacted more than others. So we know that, but you have to look at the state in total, because again, you have the vast majority of the personal income tax revenue comes from New York City, Nassau, Suffolk, Westchester, and the Hudson Valley. And if, to Senator Tedesco's point, if those people leave the state, then we lose money. And when we lose that revenue, we need that revenue to fund education statewide, Medicaid statewide. So that's the concern. The concern is you can't say, well, it didn't affect one part of the state, so it shouldn't matter. It affects the state because the revenues come from the entire state. And if one part of the state is hurt and it impacts their home values go down 10%, their property taxes go up, their income taxes go up, and we're less competitive to the other states. Some people cite Florida. The federal law made us that much less competitive than those other states. So if it impacts the entire any part of the state, it's going to impact us. And if you impact the part of the state that produces a lot of the revenue, then it's really going to impact the whole state. So I think it's not just a matter of how it impacts that individual on their taxes, but it's how it impacts potential state revenues, and that's where we're really at risk.
Well, one of the things I'd like to jump to is dealing with issues around the opioid crisis in the state, and certainly I agree with efforts to try to respond to that. Of course, one of the proposals in the budget is to raise revenues through a tax that would be created on that. And one of the things I did see that like 12 states tried to do that last year, but it's pretty complex, and looking at the overall structure of how drugs move through the system and then who's using them. And I guess I have a couple questions. None of those other states actually ended up doing it, but we have, it also falls to we're taxing treatment by doing that because people who are accessing some of those treatment drugs, those drugs are also being taxed in the midst of this. So I guess just questions looking at, and again, it's a complex way why the other states I think didn't end up doing it. It got very difficult, and maybe some unintended consequences came out of it. So I guess just questions on why would it apply to people or the drugs that are used for people in treatment.
The opioid surcharge proposal would be applying a surcharge on the first sale into New York State of an opioid. The funds being generated by that surcharge are being dedicated to fund opioid treatment programs that are paying for those drugs, and so those programs will be whole. It's the ultimate goal here to impose a surcharge that will flow to the manufacturers of opioids, and where at the end stream it's being used for drug treatment programs, the surcharge is being dedicated to support exactly those programs.
So, and I guess I understand that somebody, hospice, because they're end users, they're paying for it, to treatment. You're suggesting, though, those dollars are, in hospice care, it wouldn't be for, they wouldn't be getting money for treatment, or, for other uses, cancer treatment and others where there's legitimate post-surgical, pain and whatever, where I think the prescription of those is legitimate. Where we've gotten into problems is certainly an overuse. But so you were just talking about the structure. So who is the target? Because is it the manufacturer, my understanding was the tax would be more, in most cases, that the provider would be paying the tax.
The tax is structured as a tax on the first sale into New York State. That's the first point where our state tax code can reach the chain of commerce for a drug. So if the manufacturer is selling directly into the state, the manufacturer would be paying the surcharge. If a manufacturer is sold to a distributor who's selling into the state, that distributor would be paying the surcharge. But that's as high in the chain of commerce as the state can reach. But the goal is to reach as high into the chain of commerce as we can.
Thank you.